Hey everyone, and welcome back to this Forge College Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here as we continue our journey from EVM to SVM. Today, we're tackling something absolutely crucial: security testing and hardening permit flows. We've been doing some incredible work with advanced ERC patterns on Solana lately, and we've built some truly elegant systems. But building a system that works when people actually play by the rules, that's really only half the battle. Today, we need to put on our adversarial hats, grab our technical pens, and learn exactly how to lock down our Solana smart contracts so tightly that even the most determined attackers will just be left scratching their heads. So, let's just ask ourselves right out of the gate, are your permits actually hacker-proof? In our last lesson, we successfully built this beautiful, frictionless, gasless house for our users, and it's stunning. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves here, we basically left the back door completely wide open for hackers. We've proved the happy path works, sure, but we haven't yet proven that the malicious path fails. So here is the blueprint for our fortress. We're going to cover the threat, 3 villains, our testing toolkit, fixing replays, fuzzing, and finally securing the fortress. Let's get right to work patching those holes.
Starting off with Section 1, the permit security threat.
Up until now, our mindset has been all about integration, right? Getting the signature to work, keeping the UI super smooth, but we need to shift entirely toward adversarial validation. We aren't just looking for typos anymore. We're looking for concrete, real-world failure modes. Just imagine, a user submits a permit transaction, but the Solana network experiences a slight delay. The client gets impatient, so they just hit resubmit. Suddenly, you have 2 identical valid signatures floating around in the mempool. If your program isn't perfectly engineered, that network delay could result in duplicate permit consumption. The user meant to approve 1 transfer, but suddenly they've approved 2. That's the exact kind of threat we need to neutralize. Which brings us to Section 2, 3 common attack vectors. To neutralize these threats, we really need to know exactly who we're fighting, so meet our rogues gallery. Villain number 1, replay attacks. You can think of this villain as the photocopier, just taking 1 valid signature and duplicating it over and over again. Villain number 2 is nonce desynchronization. This is kind of like the confused bouncer at a club who lost count of who's inside and who's outside, accidentally letting the wrong data through. And villain number 3, signature edge cases and malleability. This is our counterfeiter, twisting and manipulating the math of the signature itself to trick the program into accepting a modified payload. Let's zoom in on that photocopier for a second. The replay attack. By definition, a replay attack is using a valid, intercepted signature multiple times to drain or duplicate an action. Imagine a user signs a message saying, "I permit you to take 10 tokens." That signature is basically a VIP pass. If you don't destroy that VIP pass the exact second it's used, a hacker can literally just photocopy it. They'll hand it to your program again, and your program will say, "Hey, looks like a valid signature," and take another 10 tokens. They will drink at your open bar all night long until your funds are completely drained. It's a critical vulnerability.
So how do we catch them? That's Section 3, the testing toolkit.
We need to layer our defenses using a whole arsenal of testing strategies. We really have 3 main testing blueprints here. First up, unit tests. These target the verifier and the nonce directly. We want a perfectly deterministic pass or fail. Does the math actually work? Second, integration tests. This targets the client and transaction inclusion. Here, we're trying to replicate those race conditions and network retries locally. And crucially, we use the local test validator for this. We want to test safely, simulating token transfers without exposing any real mainnet funds. And third, fuzzing. This targets our parsing logic. We're going to throw absolute garbage data at our program to surface any panics or crashes. Moving on to Section 4, fixing replay attacks. Now that we have our tools ready, let's go hunt that first villain by writing a unit test called replay rejected. The crucial point here is understanding the difference between vulnerable logic and hardened logic. In our test, we'll literally try to submit the exact same signature and nonce twice. Vulnerable logic relies on implicit trust, and when things go wrong, it just panics. Panicking under pressure creates a terrible user experience, and honestly, it opens up massive security holes and complex transaction chains. But hardened logic? It's beautiful. It uses explicit error returns. When it sees that duplicated signature, it gracefully and securely returns an invalid nonce error. And how exactly do we achieve that graceful rejection? It's all through the atomic nonce update. This is your step-by-step schematic for atomic state transitions. Step 1, read the current nonce from the account. Step 2, compare it to the nonce provided in the permit. Step 3, write the updated incremented nonce back to the account. And step 4, only then do you apply the effects, like actually transferring the tokens. By doing the read, check, and write in one uninterrupted atomic motion, you completely eliminate those windowed race conditions. The photocopier villain tries to slip in a duplicate, but the nonce has already moved on. Denied.
All right, Section 5, Fuzzing and Defensive Parsing.
With replays handled, let's take on the counterfeiter by targeting the parsing functions that decode our permit bytes. I absolutely love this principle. Validate every external byte sequence with strict, non-panicking parsing paths. Fuzzing is actually incredibly fun. Think of it like using the cargo fuzz tool to aggressively throw thousands of random objects, rocks, shoes, bowling balls, at your fortress door just to see if the lock accidentally clicks open, or if the door just completely falls off its hinges. We're purposefully trying to break the way our program reads incoming data.
And when those fuzzing runs inevitably uncover edge case panics in our parsing paths, we fight back with defensive checks. We add strict length validations, so a user can't just send a gigabyte of junk data. We use explicit error returns instead of unwinding the program, and we put hard limits on signature sizes. We force the data to fit our exact expected schematic. If it doesn't, we reject it safely and predictably.
Which brings us to Section 6, Securing the Fortress. Let's review the newly secured state of our local test harness. 1. This giant number is literally everything. A fully hardened permit flow guarantees only a single effective application of a permit on-chain. No matter how many times a client retries, no matter how bad the network lag is, or how many duplicate signatures an attacker spams at your program, the on-chain effect happens exactly one time. And that, my friends, is the gold standard of adversarial validation.
To maintain that standard, you've got to embed these golden rules into your engineering mindset. 1. Make state updates atomic. 2. Use item potency markers or consumed flags so your program always knows exactly what has already been processed. And 3. Practice defensive parsing to handle malicious inputs gracefully. I highly encourage you to take all your failing inputs, your code diffs, and your test outputs and compile them into a comprehensive debug report. Documenting your security fixes is just as important as writing them. Which leads us to our final, lingering question. What happens when we move signature validation entirely off-chain? Because believe it or not, that is exactly where we're heading next. In our upcoming explainer on the foundations of account abstraction on Solana, we're going to explore how shifting these responsibilities completely changes our attack surface. You definitely won't want to miss it. On behalf of Forge College, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. To dive deeper into this subject, review the code modules, and explore more incredible Web3 topics, be sure to visit forge.college. Keep testing, keep building securely, and I'll see you in the next explainer.